My ex posted private messages after our breakup, so I gave him a taste of his own medicine. Hey Reddit, I'm Sarah, 28F, and this story is about my ex, Jake, 30M. He was the kind of guy everyone seemed to admire, charismatic, outgoing, always the life of the party. When we started dating, I felt like I'd won the lottery. I fell for him hard, trusting him completely. But over time, I realized I didn't truly know the person I'd committed to. This is the story of how I got revenge when he went too far. Jake and I were together for 4 years. Looking back, I see all the red flags, but at the time, I was blind to them. He was an expert at making you feel like you were the only person in the room. If he gave you attention, it was intense and all-consuming, and if he didn't, you were left scrambling, wondering what you'd done wrong. He had a reputation for being flirtatious, but I believed him when he said it was just his friendly personality. I mean, I'd always wanted a partner who was warm and sociable, and that's what I thought I had. The cracks began to show about 2 years into our relationship. Jake would go on guys' trips almost every other weekend, and he'd get weirdly defensive if I asked to tag along. He had this habit of tilting his phone away or taking calls in another room, but every time I questioned it, he'd brush it off, saying I was paranoid. Looking back, I see that his over-the-top reactions were meant to make me feel guilty for even asking. But I ignored my gut feeling, convincing myself I was just being insecure. The moment I discovered the truth, it hit me like a truck. One night, Jake accidentally left his phone on the table when he went to the bathroom, and a message from a girl named Mandy popped up. She sent something flirty, with emojis and all, and my stomach dropped. I clicked into the conversation, and my worst fears were confirmed. Mandy wasn't just a random girl. She was a full-blown affair. They exchanged love messages, planned secret getaways, and talked about their nights together. It was all there in black and white, and my world crumbled. I confronted Jake, and he barely tried to deny it. In fact, he looked more annoyed than guilty. He called it a casual thing and said he never promised to be a perfect guy. I packed my things and left him that night, swearing I'd never look back. But just when I thought I'd managed to escape with my dignity, he did something I never saw coming. A week after I moved out, Jake started posting screenshots of our private texts on his social media, twisting my words to make it seem like I was the insecure, clingy girlfriend. He called me the drama queen and claimed he'd been trapped in a toxic relationship. He even captioned one post with, "Dodged a bullet," like I was some sort of burden he'd finally shaken off. The worst part? People believed him. Mutual friends started commenting, sending messages of support to him. His narrative was getting validated while I sat there feeling helpless, humiliated, and powerless. That's when I knew I couldn't just sit back. He thought he could ruin my reputation without any consequences? I was done being the nice girl. He wanted to play dirty? Fine. I had 4 years' worth of ammunition he'd forgotten about. My plan was simple. I'd make an anonymous Instagram account and start sharing the real Jake, unedited, raw, and ugly. I started posting small things at first. Like the text where he admitted to lying to his own parents to get money for a business trip that was actually a weekend with Mandy. Or the screenshot of him talking about how he cheated on an ex before we got together. But I saved the biggest revelations for later. I wanted him to sweat, to feel that rising panic as his spotless reputation crumbled. The account quickly gained followers, and people started piecing together who this anonymous nice guy really was. Friends who had initially taken his side began reaching out to me, apologizing, saying they had no idea he'd treated me that way. But I wasn't done. There was one last piece of dirt I was holding on to, and it was a bombshell. Jake had confessed to me once, after one too many drinks, about a shady deal he'd done at work. He'd fudged numbers on a contract to secure a big client, and if anyone found out, he could be blacklisted from the industry. I wrestled with whether to post it, but after everything he'd put me through, I decided he deserved it. I posted screenshots of the texts he'd sent me about the deal, and the fallout was immediate. Within a week, his company found out, and Jake was fired. His reputation was in shambles, and he couldn't blame anyone but himself. The messages from our mutual friends started rolling in again, only this time, they weren't on his side. I even got a message from Mandy herself, the girl he'd cheated with, saying she felt like an idiot for falling for his lies too. Turns out, Jake had a pattern of treating people like pawns, and now everyone knew. After all was said and done, Jake sent me one last desperate message, begging me to take down the account. He said I'd ruined his life. But I didn't feel any sympathy. In a way, I'd given him exactly what he'd given me, a taste of betrayal, humiliation, and complete exposure. Looking back, I don't feel guilty. I'm relieved. I reclaimed my power, exposed his lies, and showed everyone that nice guy Jake wasn't the hero he pretended to be.